How's it going, everyone? It's Hobby from Weather SpongeBob. Today is March 30th, 2021, and today we're going to focus on the next potential major winter storm that's going to impact the Northeast and other stuff that's going on in the United States for this week and into next week. But before I begin, make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather-related content. Make sure to like if you like this video. Make sure to turn on post notifications if you want to see even more weather-related content. So let's begin by taking a look at the GFS model. So this is the first time in a while I've been talking I've been talking about winter weather, because over the past several weeks my content's mainly been focused on severe weather, because obviously most of the weather that's been going on in the United States has been severe weather. But now we're back into wintry weather, and not only that, this could potentially be a major snowstorm and bring major impacts to certain areas in the Northeast. If we take a look at the GFS model, you see for the most part it's quiet. We do have some scattered showers throughout the Southeast. However, the big elephant in the room is that we see a pretty big jet stream dip throughout the middle of the United States, and this will induce enough unstable air to create a new trough, or at least re-strengthen this small little upper level trough that's moving towards the east. And once this low pressure does intensify, we're going to see the rain as well, the precipitation rate intensify, and the expansion and the area of precipitation will intensify, and eventually we're going to see some snow on the back side of this storm. And like I said, this could be a lot of snow. So if we move forward, you see that as the jet stream continues to move further eastward, the jet stream dip, we begin to see that cold air interact with the very warm air on the eastern half of the United States. And as a result, we do see a line of precipitation form right around the Ohio River Valley and further southward into the Mississippi River Valley. And you might be concerned that this could maybe induce some severe weather. However, at this point, at least in 18 hours from now, the chance of severe weather remains slight, because while there is a pretty pronounced jet stream dip, it isn't going far enough south to really dig in and interact with that very warm, humid air from the Gulf of Mexico. So as a result, the showers and thunderstorms you might see within this broad area of precipitation will likely not be severe. And as you can see, there's a large area, there's a pretty big dip in the jet stream. And it's going to induce at least some precipitation. However, I will say later during the forecast, there could be a chance of severe weather somewhere in the Southeast, where the jet stream dip will dip down far south enough to maybe induce a higher risk of severe weather. While I wouldn't say it'll be as big as, let's say, the two previous severe weather threats, which brought extreme severe weather to portions of the Southeast, it still could bring the risk of damaging winds and small hail. So keep in mind that. But you see, as the jet stream dips, the rain eventually extends further northward, and we do see the first area of snow right around Ohio, and this will only expand once the cold air moves further and further to the east. And as you can see, a new low pressure system forms, or a more formidable low pressure system, and this will originate from this, like I said, this small, very weak trough. And as it moves eastward, this will help intensify and pretty much make a new low pressure system just off the northeast coast. And you see that as it does so, the air is just humid enough, but yet just cold enough for some snow on the western side of the storm. So dry air won't be much of an issue. And as you can see, there's a lot of snow in this region on the western part of the storm. And if we continue to move forward, you're gonna see that the jet stream dip is pretty big. There's a lot of snow on the western side, and it continuously begins to expand as for the storm as well. So this could definitely be major. There's a large area, and you see there's a lot of snow, there's a lot of rain as well on the eastern half, and it could raise a concern of some flooding. And it is definitely a huge difference from the last GFS model run, where in the last GFS model run, it was taking a lot less snow. If you look back at the previous run from yesterday, you see that there isn't as much snow, and I noticed that the snow area wasn't as big. So as a result, most areas received a lot less snow from this. However, now the GFS model has been trending to more fit in line with the European model, which has been something that commonly seen this winter, where the GFS sort of plays catch up with the European model. And for those closer along the East Coast and pretty much for the entire Northeast, that might not be good news if you don't want snow, because now the snow swath is expected to be larger than previously expected from the GFS model, and the European model been persisting on a little bit more snow throughout Pennsylvania, upstate New York, and even portions of northern New England. And while the immediate coastal cities such as New York City, Boston, Philadelphia it's still primarily going to be a rain event, I'd say that there could be a slight chance of snow potentially, depending on the exact track of the storm, because the rain snow line won't be as far as initially anticipated by the computer models. So if that rain snow line moves just a couple more miles to the east, you could see maybe some snow in Philadelphia and New York City, especially in the metropolitan suburban areas. However, at this point, since we're only around 2 days or 48 hours away from the event, there isn't going to be any drastic changes. So I don't expect, so if there is any changes with the low pressure system trajectory, I don't expect it to be anything major where, let's say, New York City will be under 6 inches of snow. I think the most likely chance is that for New York City, Philadelphia, and a lot of the Interstate 95 corridor cities along the Northeast, this will primarily be a rain event. However, there maybe still could be that slight chance of some snow, especially closer towards early Friday morning and late Thursday night, where the storm where the cities will experience a back and much colder side of this storm. So there could be a chance of snow, but the reason why the immediate coastal cities are not expected to receive snow is mainly due to the timing, because by the time the low pressure system moves further up northward and it begins to expand its area of snowfall, it's pretty much going to be a little bit too far up north before the snow area is going to be a little bit too far north to really impact New York City and Philadelphia. And if this low pressure system were to take a track a little bit further eastward and were to move more north a little bit later, then we could have been talking about a major snowstorm for the Interstate 95 corridor. But since this low pressure system is going to move northward a little bit too quickly, and the low pressure is going to move right over the big cities, it's unlikely that they're going to experience any snow as well. This could change depending on how far east or west the storm goes. If it takes a slightly eastward trajectory where the storm forms a little bit later than anticipated and moves more northward later than anticipated, maybe there could be some snow, especially in the metropolitan regions of Philadelphia and New York City. However, as it stands right now, it's primarily a rain event, and if this were to take the further eastward track, obviously there would be no chance of snow. So at this point, for those along the Interstate 95 corridor from Washington D.C, Philadelphia, New York City, and Boston, while there could definitely be some snow on the backside of this storm, there's still that possibility. I won't rule it out. More likely than not, this will be an all rain event, and I'd say I'm almost guaranteed that there won't be any sort of snowfall accumulation unless something drastic happens in the forecast, which seems unlikely when we're talking about a forecast only 48 hours out. So unfortunately, for those hoping for that one last big snowstorm before the rest of the spring months come through, or the summer, unfortunately for the eastern cities, it's unlikely to happen. But for a lot of the interior northeast, I'd say this could be a major snowstorm where I think localized areas could receive over a foot, because there's going to be a lot of unstable air to really induce a lot of convection to strengthen this storm and to really make those snow squalls much more potent. So as a result, we could see much more heavier snowfall. In terms of snowfall accumulation throughout the interior Northeast and throughout the Northeast in general, you're gonna see that there's a pretty large area of 3 to 6 inches, and even more than that throughout upstate New York, where they could experience around 6 to 12 inches of snow, especially in the extreme northern portions of upstate New York. And taking a look at the rain snow line, you see that the GFS, interestingly enough, is taking just a little bit of snowfall accumulation right around the Washington D.C. metropolitan area, and then you see Philadelphia and New York City are just outside the rain snow line or the snowfall accumulation line. So it might be closer than anticipated. While I do think it's mainly going to be a rain event, maybe a possibility of some snow, a moderate possibility on the backside, there's still certainly that possibility that maybe you could experience a little bit more snow than anticipated if the storm were to take the westward track. So we just have to wait and see. But as for the interior Northeast, it's pretty much inevitable. You're going to experience accumulating snowfall and heavy snow at that, where 6 to 12 inches for a large area of upstate New York is likely right around Syracuse, Rochester, New York, and just north of Albany, New York, and right around Albany. You should experience 3 to 6 inches of snow. Pittsburgh will get involved as well, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, pretty much the entire state of Pennsylvania. So watch out for that. And this extends even further southward to West Virginia and the northern portions of New England, where you could maybe experience over a foot of snow depending on the exact track of this low pressure system. While the European model has been agreeing with the GFS for the most part regarding the trajectory of the storm, at least a general trajectory, there's still some key differences I want to point out. For one thing is that taking a look at the snowfall accumulation forecast, you see that while the GFS is more lenient on bringing a potentially major snowfall threat to northeastern Maine, you see that in the GFS model, we're seeing the GFS model is forecasting over a foot of snow. However, in the European model, interestingly enough, it's barely taking any snow, as the rain snow line will be very tight based off of what the European model is forecasting, and that makes it a little bit more difficult to really pinpoint, especially right along the rain snow line, to pinpoint how much snow you actually will receive, because the rain snow line will be a key determinant in how much snow you'll receive in the interior portions of the Northeast. But I'd say more likely than not, if you're far from the rain snow line, this should be primarily certain forecasts where 6 to 12 inches should be expected in upstate New York, 3 to 6 throughout Pennsylvania, and there could maybe be that slight chance of at least some snowfall right around Washington D.C, Philadelphia, and New York City. But more likely than not, this will all be a rain event. So just keep a close eye on this interior Northeast. Make sure to prepare. Just because we're entering the month of April does not mean wintry weather will completely disappear, because we still certainly could experience big snowstorms as late as April during the year. So keep that in mind if you're in the interior Northeast. And in terms of the timing of this should primarily be a Thursday threat right around Thursday night, where most of the snow will fall throughout the interior Northeast and most of the rain will fall throughout the Northeast as well. And obviously the snow won't be the only issue we need to keep track of with this low pressure system. We also need to keep track of how much precipitation you should receive all throughout the United States, the eastern half of the U.S. And you see that there's a large area of over an inch of snow and a little bit more than 2 inches right around the eastern half of Maine, where close to 3 inches of rain is expected over the next 5 days. And while 1 inch might not seem like a ton of rain, we certainly have seen a lot more rain in other events even this year. 1 inch of rain on top of some areas which already received a ton of rainfall, such as Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi, and Georgia, it could definitely make the rivers overtop their banks just 1 inch of rain. And if you live in a river that's very close to overtopping its banks, you need to pay close attention to this, because 1 inch of rain is certainly not something you want to necessarily underestimate. So keep that in mind. There's expected to be a lot of rain throughout the eastern half of the United States for this Thursday. So make sure to at least be aware of that in case you're traveling or you plan to have outdoor events during right around Thursday. So keep a close eye on that. And in terms of my snowfall forecast, you see that it's pretty much mimicking what the GFS and the European model snowfall forecasts are saying, where 6 to 12 inches should be expected in the interior Northeast, 3 to 6 just outside of that, which includes Albany, New York, Scranton, Pennsylvania, and Pittsburgh should be involved in 3 to 6 inches of snow, and then 1 to 3 just outside of that, where the snow squalls won't be necessarily as heavy, and along the rain snow line, it'll be a more difficult forecast to pinpoint how much snow we'll receive. We need to pay close attention to the trajectory of this storm, and heavy rain and flooding will also be an issue, where 1 to 2 inches of rain should be expected with this next trough, and it'll dump those 1 to 2 inches of rain in a relatively fast time frame. So you need to keep in mind of that if you're along the East Coast. Just keep a close eye on this. And in terms of the exact timing of this, this should reach you guys right around Wednesday night into very early on Thursday, where you see most of the snow will be over New York City by then. And I think this Futurecast radar is underestimating the snow swath a little bit. It should be a lot bigger than this and should impact a lot more people in Pennsylvania and New York City. So keep that in mind when looking at this Futurecast radar. But you see the heavy rain will extend through Thursday morning and into Thursday afternoon. Thursday night, the rain will still be there, and then should move out, I'd say, very early on Friday for most of the Northeast. So keep a close eye on that. This could be a major snowstorm for you guys, and make sure to prepare around the interior Northeast. But anyways, guys, I thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather content. Make sure to like if you like this video. And make sure to turn on post notifications if you want to see even more weather content. And I hope you guys have a good day.